In December 2007, a man walks into a police station in central London and tells the officer at the desk that he thinks he might be a missing person. He says he can't really remember anything. The last 5 years are just a blank. He gives them a name, John Darwin, says he used to live up near Hartlepool, and beyond that, nothing. The officers run the name, and what comes back stops them cold. Because John Darwin wasn't just missing, John Darwin was dead. He'd drowned 5 years earlier, his family had grieved him, and the case had been closed a long time ago. So how was he standing right there in the lobby, tanned and healthy, asking for help getting his life back? To understand that, you have to go back to the morning it all started. It's March 2002, in a quiet seaside town in the northeast of England. John Darwin is a former teacher turned prison officer, married to his wife Anne, with 2 grown-up sons. From the outside, they look like a normal family. What nobody can see is that they're drowning in debt, the kind that keeps you awake at night, with no real way out. Then one day, John takes his canoe out into the cold North Sea, and he doesn't come back. Anne raises the alarm. The Coast Guard launches a huge search, boats and helicopters out combing the water for him. A few weeks later, they find the wreck of his canoe, smashed up and washed in, but no body. And to everyone looking at it, the story writes itself. A man went out on the water. Something went wrong, and the sea took him. It's tragic, but it's not exactly unusual. His sons are heartbroken. Anne plays the grieving widow, and eventually, with no body but every reason to think he died out there, the authorities close the case and declare John Darwin officially dead. Except John Darwin was very much alive. The whole thing, the canoe, the search, the drowning, all of it was a lie he and Anne had cooked up together to escape their debt. The plan was simple and cold. If John was dead, they could claim on his life insurance and his pension, clear what they owed, and start again with a clean slate. So while the Coast Guard searched the sea for his body, John was hiding more or less in plain sight. The couple owned the house they lived in, and the rundown place right next door, and John just moved in there, slipping back and forth through a hidden door they'd put in between the two. He grew a beard, started using fake names, and for a while he was living a few feet from his old life, ducking through that connecting door whenever it was safe. And here's the part that's hard to get your head around. His own sons had no idea. They thought their father was dead. Anne let them grieve, let them cry at the memorial, and never once told them the truth. Meanwhile, the money came through, around £250,000 by the end, and the debt that started all of this just melted away. For years it worked. It actually worked. But living as a dead man in the house next door is no way to spend the rest of your life, and eventually they wanted more. They set their sights on Panama, where the weather was warm and nobody knew their faces. They started moving money out there, buying property, and planning a brand new life in the sun. Anne sold the family home and moved to Panama. And this is where John made the strangest decision of the whole story. For reasons still not totally clear, he decided he wanted to come back to England as himself. Maybe he missed his sons. Maybe he thought enough time had passed. Whatever it was, he came up with a plan. And it was a bad one. He would walk into a police station, claim he'd lost his memory, and pretend he had no idea where he'd been for the last 5 years. Which brings us right back to that lobby in London. The trouble was, the moment he reappeared, people started asking questions the amnesia story couldn't answer. Why did a man who'd supposedly been lost and confused look so tanned and well-fed? Why wasn't his heartbroken wife rushing back from Panama to see him? She kept giving reasons. She had to sort out her visa. She was waiting on her furniture, and none of them quite added up. And then came the photograph. Somewhere out there, an ordinary woman was reading about this back from the dead canoe man, and something about it nagged at her. So she did the simplest thing imaginable. She sat down at her computer and typed 3 words into a search engine. John, Anne, Panama. And up it came. A photo on the website of a Panama relocation company, the kind that helps foreigners buy a home and move over there. In the picture, there's John Darwin, very much alive, standing next to Anne, both of them smiling, posing with a property agent in an office in Panama City. Stamped in the corner was the date it had been taken, July 2006. That date is everything, because July 2006 was 4 years after John supposedly drowned, and there he was, alive and well, standing right next to the wife who'd spent years swearing she thought he was dead. The whole story fell apart in a single image. Somebody emailed it to the police and the Daily Mirror, and the Mirror put it across the front page for the whole country to see. After that, there was nowhere left to hide. The police reopened everything, and the lies came undone fast. When the paper confronted Anne with the photo, she finally admitted it was him, that she'd known all along. Investigators pieced the rest together. The hidden door between the houses, the fake names, the years John had spent living as a ghost a few feet from his old front door. They even found old newspapers stuffed in the gap where he used to hide, showing just how recently he'd been in there. John was arrested on suspicion of fraud, and Anne was picked up as she flew back into the country. The Grieving Widow Act was finally over. In 2008, it all ended in court. John pleaded guilty to fraud and to getting a passport under a false name. Anne tried to argue that John had controlled and pressured her into the whole thing, but the jury didn't buy it, and she was convicted too. They were each sent to prison for more than 6 years. The sons who genuinely mourned their father were left to live with the fact that both their parents had let them grieve over a lie. John and Anne's marriage didn't survive it either, and they divorced soon after. If you'd faked your own death and built a whole new life on the other side of the world, would you ever have risked a photo like that? Let alone walked back into a police station? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there.